Hi, Matt with eTrailer. If you're trying to get a little bit more space out of your 2023 Hyundai Santa Fe, and you don't really want to use your hitch because either you don't own one or it's being used by something else, like a trailer or a bike rack, and you need somewhere else to store that extra luggage that you have, then the CURT Roof Basket is going to be a great option for you. So let's check it out. Now you are going to be able to put a fair amount in here, and what's going to help with your ride quality too is going to be this fairing at the very front. This is going to be a metal fairing, and so what that's going to allow you to do is when you're driving on the highway in those high wind speeds, this is going to help divert any of that wind that's going to be pushing against whatever you're hauling and help reduce that. It's also going to provide you much more of a smoother ride overall. Now, if you really wanted to, you could remove that if you have some longer items that might stick through, but in most cases this should be fine. And if you do need to haul some longer items, you actually can get this in a larger size as well. And of course, when you are hauling anything on top of your roof, you want to make sure you strap that down. And you're going to have plenty of options to choose from. You're going to have these rails that go across, and then these ones that go all the way to the other side as well. And what's really nice about this is they're going to be made out of steel, so they're very durable. And these will be more weather resistant, so they're going to last you a long time because we have that black powder coat finish. And something to think about with that finish is if you have any metal hooks, just watch out for that because that could scratch off some of that, making it more prone to rusting in those areas. Something else about these bars or these metal rods is since they go all the way across, we're going to have multiple different mounting points because that's how our clamp mounts up. If you look at it right here, it's going to grab onto two bars at any given point, so we can either go from here, or if we really wanted to, we can go into one of these spaces back here too. That's just going to depend on your crossbar spread. But the way this works is we're going to have this metal plate that goes across, securing the top of your rack. There's going to be this plastic adapter that goes underneath it. And then we're going to have this U-bolt that goes through and connects to two wing nuts, so you can tighten everything into place. This is a pretty universal fit, and most times it works really well. And I think we're getting a pretty good fit today too. Now, something to point out with that U-bolt is we're going to have these bolts that come up a little bit over the top. And that's something to think about if you have any canvas bags because it could get snagged on there. And speaking of that clamp, it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It's only going to stick up at the very most ½ an inch, which isn't too bad. Even if you do have a sunroof up here, it's not going to be likely to make contact with this. Now for the overall height it's going to add to our vehicle, if I go from the top of our crossbar to the top of the carrier, that's going to be a little bit less than 7½ inches, which isn't too bad. What I suggest doing is just taking the total height of your vehicle, plus your crossbars and the carrier itself, and if you have any gear inside there, include that too, so you know what areas you can make it under. A spot to really think about would be a garage. And for the fit we're getting today overall, you can see how much space is taken up for the width of our crossbars. Now I scooted my basket all the way to one side. We have a little bit of overhang, so we have a little bit more room to play around with. But this is going to be roughly what you're dealing with, and the space on the other side isn't going to be much. So you're not going to be likely to put anything else up here with it too. Now for how much space it's taken up on the front of our vehicle, we have plenty of real estate to play around with. So like I was saying, you can actually shift where those clamps are located. So if you wanted to bring this forward some, you have plenty of room to do so. And I can still even open up my hatch. Just to show you what I'm talking about, we have more than enough room to work with. And that's why I was talking about earlier, if you wanted to, you could go with a larger size, because even if the larger size is a lot bigger, we have more than a foot on either side to work with. Now, even though this is a smaller carrier, it is still going to have a weight capacity of up to 150 pounds, but that's going to be the same thing for the larger basket as well. They're both going to be 150 pounds for this specific carrier. Now, that is still quite a bit of weight, and if you are hauling that much weight, I recommend keeping it in the center of your vehicle. And something else to think about is what your roof is rated for, or your crossbars. What I would suggest doing is just taking the total weight of what you're hauling. So you're going to have the weight of your crossbars and the basket itself. plus whatever you're hauling, and make sure you include that into your weight capacity. You also want to make sure you know what your roof is rated for, because you don't want to overload anything and damage something. But overall, I think this is a pretty good carrier. I really do like how we have a metal fairing on the front of it, because a lot of baskets are going to have a plastic fairing. And what can happen is when you're done using this and you go to take it off, and let's say you don't store it properly or it falls over, a lot of times those plastic fairings break pretty easy. You won't have that issue with a metal fairing. Now the only concern I could see with this one is just going to be how it clamps into place. Now what we have today has a fixed mounting system. So if you have raised rails, you should be good. But if you have a naked roof, you're probably going to have different locations for your crossbars. And sometimes these clamps won't work. So another good option is going to be the Rhino-Rack roof basket, because the way those clamps work, they actually are on 2 rungs that slide down. So you actually have pretty much unlimited options within the size of the carrier. But this one, honestly, is a little bit easier to use than the Rhino-Rack one. But that's just our look at the CURT Roof Basket on our 2023 Hyundai Santa Fe. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.